Hey, everybody. Thanks for waiting. We had a slight technical difficulty getting set up, but really excited to be here with Hendrik and Kanav from the Wormhole and Jump team. I'm also joined here by Betty from the Acala team, who many of you probably know. Today is going to be a great conversation around the Wormhole bridge, what that's going to unlock for the Acala and Karura ecosystem, as well as kind of the broader Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem. Let's get started with introductions, though, and then I can kind of walk everyone through kind of the setup and the agenda for the day. We can go ahead and get started. So maybe, Hendrik, I'll pass it over to you to introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for having me. I'm Hendrik. I lead special project at Jump Crypto, that including our contributions to Wormhole, also director at the Wormhole Foundation. My background's in cybersecurity and systems engineering. Prior to joining Jump and working in Wormhole, I co-founded Certus One, one of the largest proof-of-stake validation companies, and then kind of fell into the rabbit hole of protocol development, and this is why we're here today.
There's no end of it. So.
Yep.
Kanav?
There is not. Yeah, hey guys, I'm Kanav. I'm the president of Jump Crypto, which is the crypto division of Jump Trading Group. Just as a quick background for folks that aren't very familiar with us, Jump is historically a prop trading firm founded about 20 or so years ago in the pits in Chicago. Today, one of the largest quantitative trading firms in the world across most asset classes. We've been in crypto for over 7 years, and even though our efforts in this space started as an extension of our trading business, building and kind of investing in the space is now, frankly, even closer to the heart of our business than our trading presence. Even though our presence in the trading space is in crypto markets is quite sizable. So we classify our business into 3 primary pillars. One is prop trading, which is exactly what we do on the other side of the house in building trading intelligence and scaling it worldwide. 2 in building with our high conviction projects like Wormhole, which we'll have a chance to talk about a bunch today, and Pith, and investing, where we partner up with really high quality teams like the Akala team here in building cool stuff in the space.
Cool. And Betty?
Yeah, hi everyone. Betty here, co-founder of Acala. It's pretty cool to see some partners joining us in this crowdcast, and then and probably, well, definitely this is only the beginning, I think, for the AUSD ecosystem. That's not just on Akala. I think it's probably going to span across the entire Polkadot, Kusama, and also the wider, I guess now we all emit multi-chain ecosystem. Yeah, so thanks for being here, everyone.
Cool. And this is Dan Reeser. Oh, yeah. Dan Reeser, Chief Growth Officer at Acala and Karura. Been a pleasure to get to know Kanav and Anthony and just getting to know Hendrik recently, but have already had a lot of fun with these guys, and definitely a lot in the plans over the coming months. So looking forward to the partnership with you guys. So today is also a kind of a...
Yeah.
Sorry, we might have a little delay here. But today's also, great timing. Actually, kind of got lucky with the timing, because this morning, or I guess around noon Eastern time in the US, we announced our initial kind of Wormhole enabled integration between Akala and the Anchor team over in the Terra ecosystem. So this is definitely the first of many cross-chain interactions that are going to be happening because Wormhole is kind of connecting our ecosystem to so many other layer ones, and of course more layer ones to come down the road. So Betty, I was hoping maybe you could get us started with just kind of the background on this integration with Anchor and what people can expect to be able to do because of this, where that may head, and then that'll kind of be a good lead into these guys giving us a description around Wormhole.
Yeah, definitely. Let me set some context with Akala, AUSD, and Wormhole, because there's something I think very little people know what we are cooking up here in the, I guess, multi-chain sort of stablecoin world. Well, for people who's not that familiar with, in the Polkadot ecosystem, it's a native multi-chain ecosystem. Essentially, you have a trustless multi-chain world. Even you use bridges, but those bridges allows you to have trustless transactions. And then there's also a sister network called Kusama that also, does similar things, but at a smaller scale. And then in the past, Akala have launched on both networks. And we've launched on Polkadot about a month ago with the functionality there. And then we've launched on the Kusama side about, I think, 10 months ago. And what happened was on the Kusama side, we had a stablecoin called KUSD. And is using the assets available on the Kusama ecosystem. And then when we launch on the Akala side, we have an AUSD stablecoin, and that's using the assets to collateralize on the Polkadot side. And just last week, we have done a union or upgrade of the KUSD into AUSD. Essentially making it one stablecoin, one fungible stablecoin available across the two ecosystems. And as we launched the Wormhole bridge on Karura, and then very soon on Acala, the two will actually be joined together in a very deep and meaningful way. So get this. So the AUSD stablecoin is not only will be fungible and native across Kusama side and Polkadot side, it will actually flow across to each other. Essentially, with one stablecoin, we're joining the two economies, if you like, economies of network of blockchains together. And then what that actually means in a more concrete way is any assets that you use on the Kusama side, like KR, KSM, and any derivatives, you can mint the AUSD out, and then you can cross that over to the Polkadot side and access any of the product and services available on Akala, as well as any of the parachains that's available on the Polkadot side, and vice versa, right? And this is enabled by the Wormhole bridge, and also enabled by a special palette that we create to create that fungibility for cross-chain communication. You can think about it as like a euro, right? It's essentially these two economies are now joined as one. So you can expect that to actually happen very quickly, and probably sooner than you expect in the next weeks and days. So that's the start of this unification of economy. And then on top of that, now we are able to enable more use cases because essentially you can think about AUSD as a gateway into the Polkadot multi-chain ecosystem. Essentially, what AUSD can do is it exists as a native stablecoin, and it actually can cross over to many of the application specific parachains. And there are many are building, specialized decentralized exchange. There's an easy one, and then there's a metaverse, supply chains, NGO chains, carbon credit chains. There's so many different type of heterogeneous, like different chains that specialize in a particular industry or application of sorts. And then AUSD is kind of embed into those ecosystem as a medium of exchange and as payments and as ways to actually get more yield. For example, if they're DeFi. And then in a sense, then AUSD is sort of a gateway that you can access that. So today, like we announced a collaboration with Anchor, and that's only, I guess, possible with folks like Wormhole are able to bridge these networks together, right? So with Wormhole, we not only can go to, obviously, like the EVM chains that are out there, like Ethereum, and obviously also Solana non-EVM chains, but also like the Terra ecosystem and others as well. And with Anchor, essentially, you can think about it as, I think Anchor is the gateway for people to access opportunity on Terra, right? So you can think about it that way. So essentially, we will be setting up pools with UST, and then so Polkadot folks essentially don't need to liquidate their asset, and then they can get AUSD, and then in a way, then they can access yield available on Anchor, and also hopefully also in the future, there are also other opportunities available in the Terra ecosystem. So then this becomes USD and AUSD becomes gateway into each other's a multi-chain world, right, enabled by Wormhole. So I will leave it there. I'm sure we're gonna go into a bit more discussion later. So
perfect. Well, thanks for the background, Betty. Hopefully that helps everybody with the context of kind of where we came from, and then what led to us starting to work with the Wormhole team, and now getting very close to launching Wormhole on Karura first, and then on Akala. So I think I guess whichever one of you guys wants to take it from here, give us the intro on Wormhole, and then take us through kind of how you think about Wormhole, what's coming next, what we can expect from this integration, and then we can wrap it up with questions.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, I'm pumped. We're almost there. So I'll give you guys a quick background on just Wormhole overall. So Wormhole is interoperability protocol connecting 8 and now very soon nine very high value chains in the ecosystem of very heterogeneous variety. It's a completely generic communication and messaging bus. What that means is that all the chains connected in the Wormhole ecosystem are able to send arbitrary messages that can represent assets, can represent NFTs, Oracle votes, governance votes, all kinds of interesting information that enables all these kind of siloed ecosystems that existed all out in their own words to compose together, right? Betty kind of alluded to this, it's the merging of the economies, it's a move towards globalization where chains that are building their own competitive advantages now have the ability to compose those and create something bigger and greater. So, the Portal token bridge is today one of the biggest applications built on top of this generic message layer. It's got, a few $1 billion in TVL, I think about between 3.5 and 4 given, depending on where the price is right now. It allows path independent movement of these assets that we're calling X assets to move through the ecosystem. So AUSD is an excellent example of an X asset where as AUSD moves from between Acala and Karura and Terra and Solana and the EVM chains, it represents it maintains complete fungibility in a completely path independent fashion. So there's no double or triple wrapping, there's no fractionalization of liquidity, and it allows for a robust AUSD DeFi ecosystem to develop so that with a very clean UX. In addition to this Portal token bridge, there is also an NFT bridge in the Portal kind of ecosystem that allows for cross-chain NFTs. And there's about 615 or 1600 NFTs on the bridge today. We're going to see a vibrant ecosystem and community of NFTs, I'm sure, on Akala and Karura very shortly. And that will allow those NFTs to have cross-chain functionality, staking, messaging across chains, access to different kinds of marketplaces, new unique attributes depending on what environment they're in, and all kinds of fun stuff like that. But on top of the generic message bus, there's other awesome stuff like Xanchor build, where instead of needing to replicate whole applications into kind of new territories and synchronizing state across all these complex environments, we're able to create these X dApps that just deploy light interfaces on new chains and allow those ecosystems to access applications and communicate kind of more easily, allowing this AUSD USD gateway that enables communication. So we're seeing a big rise in the development of these X dApps. There's a big roadmap ahead for Wormhole with X data, allowing accessing of data across a whole bunch of other chains in a cheaper fashion than is even already possible today using Wormhole. Wormhole's excitingly going to have its own chain, which is the Wormhole chain. The consensus kind of still lives off of it, but it's used as a neutral governance and auxiliary support layer. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on, and I can keep going, but I don't want to take the rest of this conversation. So I'll hand it off to Hendrik. And Hendrik, maybe you can dive deep into how Xanchor works and what the other really awesome stuff can be that we can build leveraging that kind of technology.
Absolutely, yeah. Kind of already said it, the generalized message nature. Imagine it in the Polkadot and Karura world. You already know this as like the XCMP base layer, essentially, allowing the parachains to communicate with each other. Truth is, that works very well for these individual ecosystems, as Betty already mentioned. But for the rest of the world, for this really heterogeneous environment of different chains, these messaging systems can't connect. And this is where Wormhole really comes in. Essentially giving developers a primitive to build on top of. But as kind of said, one thing we're really focusing on is not everyone in the web, in the internet world, if you think about protocols, not everyone just sends network packets around Some people just want to deliver a website and they want to have the HTTP of the world. That's what you use when you access a website. And that's the same thing we're trying to like give to the ecosystems to like make these cross-chain use cases easy. And then kind of mentioned it, Anchor, it's one of the very exciting use cases that we're very likely also gonna see here. And what this essentially is like you've seen that, like you have a lending protocol, and that lending protocol now deploys to Acala. So whenever that protocol, like you built this protocol and you want to expand to other chains, you want to allow different ecosystems to tap into this amazing liquidity that builds up there. But usually prior to like this development, what you'd have to do is essentially go ahead and rewrite your smart contract a bunch of times to run on Solana, to run on Terra, which are using different languages. And then you would deploy them there. You would manage these different deployments, and each one of them would have their own liquidity pools, would have their own like collateral pools and pools you can borrow out of, which makes this super capital inefficient. Like suddenly it's just the brand that's the same, but you have 4 different protocols. That's not the future of cross-chain. In the future of cross-chain, there's true interoperability. And this is what, for example, Anchor does. And what, based on Wormhole, anyone building an application on Acala or Karura can do as well. And that is essentially just building these outposts. I sometimes explain it as a bit of a somewhat McDonald's model, not franchising directly, but you have like one factory where all the magic happens, a lot of stuff is produced. And then you just have branches out there that are very lightweight. They only do the sales. And in this case, they only allow you to interact with it. So kind of a remote control for the protocol. So while all the liquidity stays in the Terra ecosystem or in Akala, it allows people from other ecosystems to, without switching wallets, and for the developers, without rebuilding the contracts and just reinventing the whole logistics, to just interact with protocols that are on other chains. And I think that's the true magic of people being able to utilize liquidity everywhere around, and developers of protocols to tap into all users, eventually people becoming blockchain users, and the rest being an implementation detail with the strengths of each of the ecosystems. So there's a natural need for liquid stake DOT. There's a natural need for liquid stake Kusama, and there's only one place you can get it, but there shouldn't be only one place you can use it. And this is what the X asset side handles, and like creating these truly cross-chain assets. And I think the interesting thing about that is that it's both a utility to the user and to the developers. For developers, it's super nice if you have these consistent, truly cross-chain assets that you can tap into everywhere with like consistent liquidity, and being able to, like, no matter where AUSD will go, it will be able to go to any other chain directly, no slippage on the transfers or anything. It's no swap, it's a truly cross-chain asset. And that kind of comes out of the box. And through the portal, that's going to be available to every project launching on Akala or Karura. If you launch a coin, you will be able to utilize the Wormhole portal to one click, make that asset a cross-chain asset and take it everywhere, allowing you to expand your audience and tap into all these other DeFi ecosystems easily. And I think this is really a power move. This is a huge growth hack in bootstrapping ecosystems, but also really for stable coins, being able to be in every ecosystem is key. And we really try to make it as easy as possible. So both for the devs listening in, but also users, feel free to like join Discord and talk to us if you have exciting cross-chain use cases you're trying to build. Or even better, just go to the user interface and click and make the asset a cross-chain asset and make it happen. I think that's the core idea behind it.
Yeah, so I think that's like a really cool analogy. There is like, you know, you have your factory, but then it's almost like a app store, right? Apple store.
Yeah.
You can open branches in, you know, different countries, and probably even better, you know. I think we are still at a very early stage of this multi-chain model. I can foresee down the track you're also going to have those localization, right? If you go to a different country, maybe your burger is made up of local beef, like New Zealand beef is pretty good, instead of, you know, the beef from elsewhere, right? So well, we're doing a little bit of that already with Anchor. I think we are supplying local assets as collateral, and supplementing, you know, the the anchor store with new supplies, I guess. But that's only just like very, very, I guess, immediate sort of things that we're building together. I think all of us here is walking in the line of like what we already know is this messy multi-chain world, and then also the unknown, right? The stuff that we are creating on the edge of building new things and then providing better UX. And also I saw some comments in the chat is like, why do chains have to fight with each other? Why do even stablecoin have to fight with each other? I think especially for the decentralized world, like decentralized blockchains and also decentralized stablecoins, we're so small. Right, we're so small compared to the stablecoin world, and we're even smaller compared to the much bigger fiat world out there. I think it helps a lot better if we actually work together to actually grow the decentralized stablecoin landscape to a much larger sort of audience, and also and also at the same time, there's different I guess preferences for different communities, right? This is why people land maybe on Solana for a particular type of advantage that they can get from the chain's properties, and they also land on Akala for a certain different type of trade-off they want to make. If you are in a Web3 world, we are essentially open, transparent, and there won't be one size fits all per se. So it's like we are working to that direction. As you can see now, we are a lot more collaborative, and I think that's very helpful for everyone. So yeah.
As global supply chains are breaking down, blockchains are coming together, right? Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited, buddy. And sorry, my internet just waved here for a second, but no, I absolutely agree. I think we've seen only kind of first order applications develop so far, and we're going to see far more involved and interesting things happening. We're seeing assets being supplied and other applications flowing back, and we're just going to see more and more involved communication with kind of state from meat chain being leveraged into applications on the other end, and I'm really excited and looking forward to that future.
Yeah, it's really like I think we're in an extremely exciting time. Like the message passing of the Wormhole protocol has been around for about 8 months, I think at this point. And only now are we starting to see, only in the last couple of months, like all of that innovation is suddenly releasing and coming out and being adopted. And it's just been really like crazy how the acceleration and the cross-chain development has gone. And I think this is like, there's only more rocket fuel being added.
Kenneth really need a better internet connection.
It seems maybe he should connect via cross-chain messaging.
Yeah, somebody in the chat said maybe Jump can subsidize broadband for Kana. One thing I wanted to clear up, we talked a little bit about like bringing assets to Anchor and then all these use cases that this is going to unlock. We have one of like the top upvoted question is will there be 19% AUSD via Anchor on Akala? I just wanted to kind of maybe just rehash like the kind of the main points from today's announcement. So what Betty was referring to as bringing kind of like assets from our world over to Anchor, what she was referring to is our liquid staking assets. So on Karura, if you're in our community, you're probably aware there's a liquid KSM staking product on Karura. So you can stake KSM on Karura and earn about, today it's like 19.92%. Actually exactly 19.92%. And that's compared to about 14.6 on the Kusama relay chain. So there's already about a 5% difference there. But the difference is, the bigger difference is that when you stake on Karura, you get this liquid token, LKSM, that you can then go on and use elsewhere. We've been saying that for months, like go on and use elsewhere. So here's an example. Using Wormhole, you can send the LKSM through Wormhole over to Anchor, and that LKSM will be accepted as a collateral to supply on the Anchor side. So you can supply this as an asset on the Anchor and then take out UST to borrow and then earn, I think it's still 19.5% on Anchor by kind of staking that UST there. So you get to earn on the Kusama side while also leveraging your LKSM on the Anchor side. All this done via Wormhole. So really cool kind of initial use case that's unlocking here.
And then
go ahead.
And I'll just add to that because we're actually building the L token, so the liquid staking into a institution grade product. And actually, we're actually doing a couple of those institution grade integration. Right. So not just like DeFi integration in the Anchor's case, but also institution integration so that it get exposed to people who are way more risk averse, if you like, and to people like slightly outside of the crypto world, because this L token is it exposes to DeFi. Well, for DeFi, for normal people, it is just a yield product, right? Why do you do DeFi? You actually have an asset, but it also creates returns and yield for you. So that's DeFi. So L token, L dot, LKSM give you exposure to DeFi, but then it doesn't have DeFi complexity because for ordinary people, essentially they just hold this token, put it in your wallet, and then HODL, and it will just accumulate the returns into that one token. And also, as a byproduct, that's also very easy to maintain and manage as well. And then we are also building up the validator set. I think you'll see some announcement there. There's like institution grade validators, as well as community validators, as well as fintech validators that are all sort of participating in this liquid staking validator pool, and then like upgrading the performance, the security, and also the service level as well. So I think this is a good contribution that we've made into the Terra ecosystem, so that I think a 19% from LKSM, and also we'll see what it's going to be for the LDOT, because this 19% is actually it's probably slightly higher than your normal staking if you do it manually, right? Because we constantly rotate the validators and optimize for performance, but also optimize for reduce the risk as we go. So hopefully that's gonna help with the sustainability of a great ecosystem, in Terra and Anchor.
Yep. And I guess just to wrap up what I was going to say, on the next step for the integration would be on the Acala side. So the same thing that I just explained for LKSM will also apply for LDOT that Betty just explained. So LDOT will also be a collateral that can come over to Anchor. The other thing that we talked about in the announcement today was just the concept of just building up these liquidity pools between UST and AUSD. So we see UST as kind of like the gateway into the Terra ecosystem and a lot of these other ecosystems that are kind of building around UST. And then on the flip side, AUSD will become kind of the gateway into the Polkadot ecosystem as we get integrations with all these parachains and all the dApps on these parachains. So a great way to kind of work together between these two ecosystems and grow the pie for these decentralized stablecoins as a whole. And then after that, of course, this sets the foundation for so many more things that can be built between the Anchor team and the Acala team, as well as just Terra and Polkadot more broadly.
Yeah, so just maybe be a bit more specific on the gateway, because I saw so many questions there. So essentially, if you are KSM or DOT holder, you can mint LKSM and LDOT, and you enjoy your whatever percentage yield that you have sustainably, and then you can use that. So if you don't want to liquidate that for the 20% yield, right, on UST, then you could collateralize it for AUSD. So you are still having exposure to your position for DOT and KSM. And then there's stable swap that are about to launch alongside with Wormhole as well. And then you can use the stable swap and then get the USD to participate in Anchor. So that will be one pathway that you can join the ecosystem. And then another pathway that someone has already very smartly pointed out is, well, you get your L token, LKSM or LDOT, and then you essentially collateralize it directly on Anchor and borrow that way, right? So that's also another pathway to it as well. So I think different people will probably enjoy different type of reward, because the two options actually give you different, portfolio of tokens that you can actually get as incentive, and also different risk profile. I think it's good to have options there. So those are the couple couple of options that are very direct and relatively low-hanging fruit. But I'm sure as we team up and collaborate a little bit more, then there are a lot more, great ideas that, the three sides we're going to come up with and hopefully serve a much wider audience together. Yeah.
I want to maybe run through some of these other questions. We had a question around risks. So of course we know that with bridges comes risk, and of course everyone kind of approaches this in a different way. There's plenty of kind of preparations or kind of mitigations that can happen. So I don't know, maybe this is a Hendrik question, but what risks are kind of inherent to the Wormhole bridge, and then what's being done to help mitigate those?
Absolutely. I think at its core, there's like three pillars we're looking at. One's the smart contract risk. That's inherent to everything DeFi and everything in the blockchain world. I think we're taking a top tier effort in the space of trying to minimize that risk as much as possible through hosting one of the largest bug bounties in the ecosystem of $10 million for critical bugs in the Wormhole. Extremely aggressive audits with working with multiple firms, having a lot of firms on retainer that are looking at every change that is going into the public, not just like initial audit rubber stamp, but actual active ongoing research into the bridge and every single change that is being made, going in with extremely strict review procedures on building features. So far hasn't slowed us down, luckily, but security is number one priority. Second angle, and actually that's been one of the questions as well, of risks leaking between the networks, is the risk of a network failing. Like these networks are like blockchains are now communicating with each other. That means if a blockchain itself fails, and I think in recent times we've seen a bunch of times that layer ones have paid out large bug bounties for core critical bugs in themselves. This is obviously a risk that can spill over, and it's a key property of a bridge to help mitigate that spillover effect if any of the connected chains fails. That's something that we're working on really aggressively. I think as one of the first bridges actually like looking at these type of aspects, as we've grown to so many, and planning to add way more this year, going to, I think 18 is the target for this year. So this is extremely important to help minimize that. There's a couple measures we're implementing there. Part of that goes through the Wormhole chain, which kind of is the kill switch of fail safe of the whole ecosystem, and kind of watches that none of these chains misbehave individually. And a third pillar is obviously the trust model of the bridge itself. So who's operating the bridge? Right now, that's 19 guardians that are operating the bridge. Think of them as validators. These are some of the largest validator companies you all know that are also running the chains that are connected. The Polkadot validators, the validators on Terra, and a bunch of the other chains. So very, very trusted, high quality operators. Obviously, the plan is to minimize that trust as much as possible going forward. That's the only way cross-chain can really work, by eliminating this like pillar fully. And we're taking this as like a tiered approach, also going hand in hand with trying to find the most secure and practical solution. So we're growing that set to like we're aiming for about 100 plus on that as like an intermediary step, and giving that into the DAO's hands. So right now it's governed by that DAO, and we're trying to grow that DAO. And then going further, the goal is, and we're already pouring a lot of resources into research, is going fully trustless through actually the chains verifying each other. And we're putting extensive research into zero knowledge proof technology to make that happen in the super heterogeneous environment. So these three pillars: smart contract risk, we're minimizing; the L1 risk or L2 risk of chains being connected; and the trust in the bridge, all of them trying to go fully trustless, isolating the chains in like the blast radius of them individually failing, and rigorous auditing, research, and bug bounty program.
Cool. Thanks for that good answer. Couple more questions, and then we can maybe wrap it up and give everyone their time. One thing that also came out today, kind of funny enough, was the news that USDT Tether is going to be natively minting stablecoins on StateMine, so one of the parachains on the Kusama side. Betty, somebody's asking kind of for your take on how that will play into the whole Kusama and Polkadot DeFi ecosystem and what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so I think that's probably expected, right? So there are going to be multiple different stablecoins out there. And then they have different properties, right? So obviously, USDT, so is USDC, and then also some other sort of entity-backed stablecoin. They're relatively centralized, right? You can still judge them on, how transparent they are and things like that. But they serve some purposes that a lot of users actually need, right? And there are also the camp of decentralized stablecoin like AUSD that also serve some people's need for censorship resistant and other properties they need. So you're never gonna get one coin that can actually cover your entire sort of needs, right? So I think the practical view of that is like all of the stablecoin is going to coexist, right? So it's better to actually build up a liquidity so that they can actually freely trade with each other, so that when you actually have a need for a certain type of stablecoin, whether it is to store the value that you generated, or you want a remittance to send across borders, or you just want a place that you want to safely hold the coins on chain, and it's censorship resistant. As long as those choices are wide open to people and they can very easily get access to them, this is through liquidity pools through the stable coins across different ecosystems, and that's why it's a cool thing that we see USDT directly minting on StateMine, so minting on basically Kusama and later on Polkadot. So that's one source of stablecoin, but it's not the only one. So we're bringing in USDC via Wormhole. As well. So that's another source of a different type of stablecoin that also have their own sort of user group that coming in. And then through the Anchor announcement, also UST is going to come over to Akala and Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem that also have a certain group of users that wanting certain things out of that stable coin, right? So yeah, and those are only just 4 or 5 stable coins. I'm sure there will be more building on top. So there are so you can see AUSD is more of a lower level stablecoin infrastructure. We actually also have stablecoin built on top of AUSD, right? That takes slightly more risk, and then also optimize for certain things, right? So they have higher risk, but probably also stretch up the yield that you can generate. But that's only for a group of people. Not everyone is opting for crazy yield and crazy risk, right? So you always get spectrum of users that want to meet their needs. So essentially you are seeing here is a stack of the infrastructure. I think for AUSD is at a very low level. It's very solid, very stable, very risk averse. If there's any price collapse, the protocol actually getting stronger. With the collateralization and liquidation mechanism that we built, but so that will serve a very good foundation for any other protocol built on top, whether it's stablecoin or other. Because when you build a castle, you don't want to build it on the sand, right? You want like stone and solid, and then you can build various different type of dApps on top, and then optimize for different things. So yeah, so I see value in each one of them, and it's just like people's choice, right? So, and what we need to do as an infrastructure builder is the infrastructure is solid, and then provide enough liquidity. This is where Wormhole comes in, so that people get those choices and also get trading venues to get what they need, whether it's a developer or individual user.
Yeah, I'll just add one quick thing too, is that if you're a parachain team or a dApp building on another parachain, Wormhole is also here to serve you too. So you can bring assets to Akala, and those assets can then flow to your chain. So Betty mentioned a few stable coins. We've already had some parachains asking for DAI from Ethereum. So get in touch with whoever you know on the Acala team, and we can work with you on bringing Wormhole cross-chain assets to your parachains as well, because this is meant to serve the whole Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem, not just Akala and Karura.
Absolutely, that's what the Wormhole is like. Polkadot ecosystem is the continent, and we're kind of the port and connecting to the other continents. So go through that port that is Akala and is Karura.
Exactly. And then we had a couple questions that I just wanted to quickly address in the chat. So somebody was asking around, like, will there be a DApp maybe offering, like, let's say 15% interest on AUSD? This is up to the DApp developer ecosystem. So just wanted to kind of give a reminder, just a couple weeks ago, we launched a $250 million AUSD ecosystem fund. Jump is actually one of the backers of this fund, including Polychain, Pantera, DCG, and about 30 others. This fund is basically here to invest in early stage projects that are building dApps around AUSD. So if there's a dApp building, let's say like a money market or a DEX or an index protocol or anything around AUSD, go to the Acala website and apply to the ecosystem program. And this program is meant to invest in you as a team. So we're here to help with fundraising. The other thing we can help with is liquidity. So if you're maybe not even in need of a fundraising round, we can also help bring over initial liquidity and help kind of bootstrap your dApp on Acala. And then the third thing is just general ecosystem support. So we've helped a lot of teams with things like preparing for fundraising rounds, even branding and community things like that, and then engineering. So just wanted to kind of let everyone know about this program that just recently launched as well.
Yeah, and then you will see some of the dApps launch on Karura's EVM first in the next few weeks, and see examples of those. And then if you are, builders, come and contact us. And we don't end there. I see some people asking A-Star, maybe Moonbeam as well. So we are sending AUSD over as well and integrating with the teams there for whatever protocol that they're building as well. So those are counted as AUSD ecosystem as well. So then there's more utility, there's more various different type of opportunity as well. And there's a whole bunch of parachains also have their application integrating with AUSD. So yeah, let's see how we actually bootstrap a native multi-chain ecosystem from the ground up here in Polkadot and Kusama. I think that's never been done before. So let's see.
Cool. Well, I know it's getting late where Hendrik is. Kanav's having Wi-Fi issues, so we can probably wrap it up. Thanks a lot, Kanav and Hendrik, for joining us here. I definitely learned a lot, and I think everyone enjoyed the time. This is also recorded, so for those of you watching now, if you want to send this to a friend or watch it again, it's going to be posted on YouTube. And hopefully we can do this again with you guys and kind of do a check-in down the road. So thanks for the time, and thanks everybody for coming on.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for staying
Thank
up
you.
late.